Boom. Hello. We're back.
Thank
I'm
you.
Ernie Pack.
Denise Pack.
We're Packman Paranormal. And we are back with another show, another Sunday night.
I'm just going to start putting some people up here to say hi.
You're just going to talk over top of
I'm
me
going to
already.
get all this started because we got a lot of people in here. We appreciate all y'all being here.
It's good to see everybody in the chat already. And I'm hoping that some other people show up, because if it's just Danny and Damien and Icy, they're going to be talking to each other all night. You know how they are. But no, tonight we actually have a guest, folks, who knows stuff about paranormal.
Surprise.
Usually it's just us, and we don't know anything. We haven't been doing it that long. But no, tonight we have Tony Rathman, and he's brought his wife Sherry along with him tonight. They are the developers, creators, I guess, of Staticom. And for those of you who don't know what Staticom is,
why don't we let him come in and introduce it and talk about it instead of you trying to do it?
We'll have the guy who invented it tell us about it. So, with that being said, everyone, let's welcome Tony and Sherry Rathman. Hello.
You guys crack us up here.
So we're busting out laughing, but appreciate you having us on. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
It's an honor to have you on. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the Staticom stuff.
All right. Well, 15 years ago, I didn't believe anything as far as paranormal went. Cherie started watching the television shows when they first came out, and she'd always say to me, you got to see this. You're going to love this. I couldn't last 2 minutes. I'm like, this is not real. This is BS. This is for television only. None of this is real. Well, then in 2010 on Valentine's Day was coming up, and Cherie says, I want to do something different. I said, okay, what do you want to do? She goes, I want to go ghost hunting. And I was like, oh. I had two choices. I could fulfill her wish, or I could have her mad at me until next Valentine's Day.
Right.
Not wanting to do that, I took her.
Yeah.
And I played along and booked her a weekend at a haunted location, bought her some equipment that I thought would sit in the closet for a couple of years and then get thrown away.
Right.
But we went, and she had a blast. That was all I cared about. I figured, okay, this is done. Until she started reviewing, going through the photographs, going through the audio recording, going through the video recording. And she was calling me over every 5 minutes. What's in this picture? This wasn't here when we took it. And then she got the audio. She goes, who's answering this question? You and I were the only one there. I couldn't explain it. I was dumbfounded. And I tried to debunk it. I couldn't. I said, let's go back. Maybe there was an event where sound was coming through that we didn't know, or maybe there was some light casting shadows for the pictures. We went back, couldn't debunk anything, looking at where we had been and where we were asking questions, taking pictures. And we came back with even more stuff. So that's how we got started. That was 15 years ago. And we're still doing
He is the most skeptic person I've ever met.
I was.
So he doesn't believe anything. And after that, so we keep trying to, and that he's like, who's calling my name? My first and last name. It's Tony Rathman. So I'm like, I don't even know.
Yeah, well,
so
that showed up on our EVP.
It started curiosity, and then now it's an obsession.
Yeah, I mean, it started out with EVPs. I was fascinated with the fact that we could run a recorder, ask a question, and get a response with intelligence to the question that we asked without anybody else being there. Her and I were the only one in that basement. Nobody else was there. It was like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And to get a response, I was absolutely fascinated with it. So we went from being EVP specialists for a couple of years, then got into ITC work with spirit boxes. We then began building our own spirit boxes for about 12 years. And then we got introduced to something called direct radio voice from our previous partners. And from there, it developed into Staticom and is now today Staticom 3.0.
Cool. And for anybody that doesn't know what Staticom is, you want to put it in layman's terms?
Sure. Let me back up to what direct radio voice was. Most people today, when they think of ITC, they think of the scanning radio. Because that was introduced. That's what hit the television stations, TV shows. So everybody in America just picked it up as that being what ITC was. But before that, the pioneers of ITC, Frederick Jurgensen, Marcello Bacci, is one of the best known for direct radio voice. He used it for like 40 years. But the difference between a spirit box scans up and down the radio stations at different speeds.
Right.
And the theory was that spirits would take those fragments of audio and rearrange them and create their own sentences.
Right.
Well, through the whole process from DRV to Staticom, we realized that the radio wasn't needed at all. In fact, they didn't use any part of the radio station broadcast at all. In fact, what the radio station broadcast did was disconnect the communication with spirit. We know that they work because we built them for 12 years, but we could never lengthen the communication. And that's because as it's scanning through radio, every time it hits a station, the white noise is gone and the communication gets interrupted.
Yeah, but sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
It doesn't mean that spirit boxes out there doesn't work. It does work. It's just the difference is it spits out just one word, or sometimes two short sentences. But the difference with the Staticom, it's a full sentence you will get.
Correct. So the other difference is that we use white noise only. There is no radio. There is no radio frequency. There is no ability to get any signal at all. No radio, no satellite, walkie-talkies, cell phone, baby monitors, nothing. It doesn't have the ability to do that. The second thing is it's a closed circuit system, meaning there's no mics, there's no way for voice or signal to interact with the system. It's a closed system. So all we're doing is taking white noise, filtering it, and from that getting voices.
Right. I love it. I mean, I really do love it, because I have noticed anything that I've ever used, like a spirit box, or, I'm going to say the bad word, apps, anything that is spitting out words, I pick up more, I always have, in the white noise rather than the clear voices that do come through. The white noise, or just sometimes it's like you'll get all these different little phonics that come through, just as like a blurb, like a bruh,
right.
More by piecing those together than I do actually the words that come through. So yeah, I mean, just that whole idea makes a lot of sense.
I know we're just getting started on the conversation, so it might be a little early to ask this question, but Damien's wanting to know how much his Staticom changed from day one, and has it caused more questions than answers at this point?
That's an excellent question. From day one, it started out as direct radio voice. From that to Staticom, it changed a lot because the radio was removed. I mean, that was one of the biggest complaints from scientists and academia, is that, hey, you're getting speech, but you're using a radio. Whether it's on a station or not, it still has the ability to transform a signal into words. How can you call that paranormal? So that was one of the things we knew we had to remove. In order to get communication that fell outside of using a radio, we knew that was important. And there was a whole string of other things as well. But that was one of the major changes. The other changes that occurred are things like the fact that if you do an EVP session, you then go home, you review it, you may try to clean it up, you may try to amplify it, you may speed it up or slow it down. Staticom does that all in real time. So in other words, it's happening at every second of every moment. It's producing the speech to us and allowing us to continue that conversation back. So that takes us up to about Staticom 2.0. And then Cherie and I advanced it to 3.0 which there are a ton of changes, which we'll get into later in the conversation. But all those changes expanded upon what was originally built and what we identified as what was going wrong with the process.
I like it.
I'm not sure. Sparky's Paranormal. So, question on the static box. When I know it's real, the voice comes through like a breathy voice over channels. Is that the same for you guys?
Well, there's some breathiness that can come through. You know, the whole concept, though, of a breath, considering it's coming from a non-human entity, you know, I understand what you're saying. Could that be explained through the electronics composing the instrumentation of the voice? It could. That is possible.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This just the whole concept. I love it. We have worked with Haunted Discoveries television show. They've filmed here at the house. They filmed up at Fort Duffield where we do investigations. And I don't know if you follow them at all, but it's Brandon Alvis, Mustafa Gadalari, Craig Owens, Kevin Oddie. They're the team, but they have a very, very scientific minded fella who's I don't know, I guess he's like a modern day Einstein, Dr. Harry Clore.
He's simultaneous PhD. The only guy
first person to get simultaneous PhDs. So he's a genius, and he's very, very scientific minded, and he really hates most of the ITC devices because of the exact reasons you talked about, how they're designed to give that.
Correct.
To pick up a voice and make a voice. And so something like this that's a whole new twist on it that doesn't do those things. I just think that's cool.
Their whole thing is they don't want to use paranormal equipment to do paranormal research. They want the things that
they want to use scientific equipment.
Right.
You know, and that was probably one of the real paradigms within the paranormal community, is that, you know, the paranormal community will get some evidence and say, you know what, science can't speak to this. This isn't how they can't study it. This is beyond them. Then they'll get a piece of evidence and they'll turn around and say, well, we know this is legit because here, look at this physics principle. Well, you can't throw out science on one hand and then turn around and call them in as your head witness in the same sentence. You can't do that. It either has to follow science or not. And if not, you have to still have to explain using scientific reasons why it doesn't follow, because there are no untruths in science. What they have shown and what they believe science can predict is for the most part correct. Now, is science always evolving? Yes, it is. So can things change and evolve? Yes, they can. But the basics of science still hold true to our 3D world. So you either have to follow them or you don't. But if you don't, then you have to explain why.
Right. Well, I mean, paranormal research has always been a pseudoscience. You know, I mean, it's something totally separate from actual scientific based research. And for that reason, I think a lot of us who, you know, believe in this stuff, like the four of us and most of the people over here on the side, are looked at like we got two heads growing out of our necks sometimes. You know, we're crazy people or whatever, because we don't look at it scientifically. And if we can combine a more scientific approach, something that you know takes away some of that,
we're taken more seriously.
Yeah, we're taking a lot more seriously if we can do exactly what you've done with Staticom.
And there's a couple of questions. D Hoot, I just put her question up there, but it kind of goes hand in hand with the one that Damien asked earlier. Damien had asked if the language is always forward spoken or if you find that sometimes it's in reverse. And then D Hoot wants to know if it's different languages coming through.
Well, we've never gotten anything in reverse. Every communication has been forward speaking. As far as language, that has varied all over the boards. We've had everything from Italian, Spanish, Turkish. We had a gentleman come up and ask a question in his Native American language. No one knew what he asked. No one knew if he got an answer until I saw his face change. And I said, did you get your answer? He said, not only did I get my answer, but I got it in my Native American language. So yes, it absolutely can do that.
That is awesome.
I don't know if y'all can hear it, but we've got a REM pod that keeps chirping in the
yeah.
background. That's what we keep doing.
Gosh.
Damien's asking.
Damien
asked a lot of questions.
Yeah, be ready. Damien's over in Scotland, and it's like what, 2 a.m. over there right now.
Damien drinks a lot of Red Bull.
Yeah, so he's all jacked up on Red Bull right now. So he's gonna fire some questions.
Well, to answer his question, we've taken it all over the country and have plans to take it out of the country here soon. The information from the location can definitely have an effect. Like when we were in Tombstone, we were getting information, sentences, comments about the bird cage, the great liquor they serve, the gambling, the prostitution, all sorts of things being stated about the location. But the thing about Staticom is that you don't need to be in any haunted location. You can literally talk to whomever, wherever, at any time.
And I think you got some videos that kind of show that where you're just sitting
and
there in your
I'm
office.
Parky, I'm just going to let you know we will try to get links and stuff up after the show, just so if you follow us or on Get Haunted, we'll get it somewhere to where you can.
We'll get a link to you for Staticom. And you can spit one out, Tony. That maybe they can write down.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, which is where you're going to see most of the evidence ones, if you type in Staticom in YouTube, the page will come right up. The other site is Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, which is our group. There's stuff on there as well. But if you're looking strictly for Staticom, go to YouTube, type in Staticom, the site will come right up.
There you go. All right. Well, speaking of the videos, I'm going to go ahead and bring up some stuff from 2.0.
Okay.
The first edition of Staticom, or was it the second?
It was the second, but yeah.
Okay. All right. The first one says Chip Padham.
Yep.
So let's bring this up and we'll take a look at it and then you can explain it.
Can you say Tony? Did you just say Rathman? Yep. So you know who I am. Can I know who you are? Yes, sir. Thank you. Who am I speaking to?
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, one of the differences that I'm going to explain is that because you can't necessarily hear the major difference between 2.0 and 3.0, hey, Michael, is that when we would get that kind of clarity, it would happen not the majority of the time, meaning we could run it for 10 minutes and then all of a sudden we'd get something unbelievably clear. The difference that you're going to hear between 2.0 and 3.0 is that we clarified the speech in almost every single word that comes through, but we can get into that later. But that was an example of them knowing who I was. They called me out by name, and then me turning around and saying, you know who I am? Who am I talking to? And I got two names, Chip Padham, Harold Patter, two different voices. You can hear the tonality in the voice. You can hear the difference in the speech and the speech patterns, but they gave first and last names. I mean, that's mind-blowing.
That's pretty awesome. Did you, by any chance, find out who those people were?
We did do research. The problem is that when working with just audio alone, I'm guessing I spelt it right, but don't know that. How many different spellings could there have been to Patter or
Chip or whatever?
Padham, right?
Yeah.
Did I spell Padham right? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to research and to know that I actually found the actual people that they're claiming to be, that becomes difficult.
Right. I understand that. Believe me, anybody in this business understands how that can be.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and play another one here. Let's see here.
Energy of your mind.
Energy of your mind. It's a real quick one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
How do you hear me speak?
That's cool.
Well, that answer really put a lot of things in perspective down our research path, trying to figure this all out. For years and years and years, we do EVP work. And we found at times that the answer would show up on the recorder before I even finished asking the question. So that answers it, energy of the mind. The other question that was always asked was, okay, I'm not broadcasting my voice. I'm speaking in my normal tone of voice in whatever room I'm in, asking a question. If they are no longer human bodied and I'm producing physical sound waves which travel through the atmosphere for a limited amount of space before they dissipate, and they don't have human ears, which are made to take those sound waves, vibrate those ear follicle parts of the ear, which then go into a liquid sound center of the ear, which then vibrates to the brain, which turns it into speech. If they don't have that, I wanted to know, how do you hear me speak? Well, they don't. My vocal has nothing to do with it. It's energy of the mind.
That's awesome. I love that. That goes back to some of the things we talked with Dr. Clore about too.
I'm just going to throw something in here real quick, kind of off topic. Our good friend and sister Beth Allen stopping by to say, hey, we lost a really good man in the paranormal field,
legend in the
paranormal field. Barry Gaunt went by Bear. He was over Octagon Hall, but he's done so much more for the paranormal community. We unfortunately lost him on Monday. So Beth's been kind of busy dealing with that all week. So Beth, we're thinking about you. We're thinking of Mama Bear. We send our love. So
yeah.
All right.
Let's
you want to
see.
play another one?
I'm gonna play another one because I like these. So give me the mic or give me the mouse.
Roll very often. I don't allow him to.
All right. 300. Here we go.
How many spirits are with us right now?
300.
300? Did you say 300?
Is that the wrong answer?
It's a very sarcastic spirit.
No, but that's what's so awesome about it is that again, timing and relevance to the question I asked, how many spirits are with me? He answered 300. Then I'm like, wow, and I'm like, did you say 300? And it's so funny because I asked him, he answered 300. And then I questioned him like, 300? And he's like, what? Is that the wrong answer? And you could hear the sarcasm in his voice.
Yeah.
And again, this is pure white noise, which contains no audio data whatsoever, no syllables, no words, no sentences. That speech should not be there.
It's a closed circuit.
Right. But yet, here's the answers coming back by me physically just speaking with my own voice and a response that's relevant to the question asked.
We need that around here.
Yes.
We got
we
so
need
many
one of
people
those.
in this house. We need one of those.
Damien asked a question earlier. Have you ever tried it with sign language? Now, we know of some deaf ghost hunters and folks who have done sign language and gotten EVP responses by using sign language. Have you ever tried that with Staticom?
We have not tried sign language, but going back to that question about energy of the mind, when we've run this in public and people were like, I would see somebody in the audience I could clearly see had a question they want to ask. And I'll be like, hey, do you have a question you want to come up and ask? And they'll be like, no, I don't want to say it out loud. We would turn around and say to them, don't say it then. Just come up here, stand by it, and just think it. And let me know if you get your answer. And sure enough, that works. So if that can work, then cannot any form of communication work? And would sign language not also be effective then? Yes, it would.
Absolutely.
I guess Damien's asking if it's the same, get the same voice that's returned.
Yeah. Do you ever get return voices that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, if we can get other information such as a name, we literally can ask for them and have them show up.
Cool.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
You want to do more of these?
Let's do more. I like
I'll
them.
let you take
All right.
control.
So now we're going to switch. That was the old system. And like I said, we'd get clarity in voice, but it wasn't constant. So these clips, Staticom 3.0 is not more than a week old.
Yeah.
It's brand new. So if we play the first clip, which I think is called Initial, I wasn't even done upgrading it yet. I was literally going through the process step by step, and they started speaking. And so
we're just testing the clarity of the.
So the clarity was unbelievable, and it just kept going. Whereas in 2.0, eventually it would drop off, and we'd lose it.
Right.
This doesn't drop off. In fact, I kept asking questions. Cherie kept asking questions, and the answers, this is true two-way communication.
All right. Well, here we go. Here's the first clip.
Speaker. Who are you trying to find? You're nervous. What?
Right there.
Yeah. Are you trying to send us a message?
Roger. Roger meaning yes or Roger meaning Roger?
Are you talking about Roger Martin?
Yes, Martin.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. So, like when he said perfect right there, I'm moving dials and configurations. They were literally telling me where to stop to keep it with the communication in line so that everything was right. So when I was moving a dial, right when he said perfect right there, and of course I stopped and I'm like, he just said perfect right there. But then Cherie said, are you trying to send a message? And then they said, Roger. Well, a good friend of ours is Roger Martin. But I didn't know when he said Roger, if he meant like
Roger,
military
yes.
Roger, yes, meaning yes.
Yeah.
But then she said, did you mean Roger Martin? He's like, yes, Martin. And of course, the
He's
intelligence.
He's also part of.
He's part of the Staticom now too. But
That's
And we got a couple of people over here. Todd said he'd love to use it at the cave. They run investigations out of the Bell Witch Cave in Adams, Tennessee. And then Sparky's Paranormal Outdoors is asking about, I guess it's 3.0 is not out yet. So,
well, none of them are out yet. In fact, there originally was 2. Now there's 3.
Yeah.
But there's only 2 of the 3.0. We are looking to do that. And we're looking for companies or whomever, because what this thing can do, the paranormal community would absolutely love to get their hands on, because it is two-way communication.
Yeah. Or invite us. We'll bring the Staticom.
Yeah, I mean, we can always do that too, right?
Rob, are you watching?
Yes.
Are you still on there?
Yeah, Rob.
What is Damien asking now? Event? Have you ever asked to prevent an event? Shoot, I can't even talk. Asked to predict an event, or asked for it from a named person from the past not related to America, like Queen or of Egypt, for example.
We've done a bunch of tests where somebody will go look up questions that they pull out of history books or off the internet. Knights Templar. We did a whole bunch of them. But even the one Roger did last time, where he was asking questions about the money from
early 1800s,
wherever it was from. Yeah. But we'd ask these questions, and the answers that would come back, in fact, were correct. In fact, about 99.9% of the information we've been given that we've been able to research is in fact correct. Now, his question was what again?
Go back.
Well, asked to predict. They
Yeah.
will not. There are what Cherie and I call universal laws about certain information they cannot pass on. And we believe that because of this life, you are here to learn, to grow, to evolve your inner self, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, your consciousness.
Mhm.
They can't disrupt that process, which is why we've asked for the winning Powerball numbers
I tried.
100,000
I
times.
tried.
They don't give them.
Yes.
They will not give predictions of the future. You
Staticom 4.0.
right. There's the
Hopefully.
next upgrade. Right.
Yeah.
They will give information from the past, though, and they will give information about things that may have occurred, as long as it's not going to affect our future in any way. If we ask for personal stuff like, you know, should I do this or should that stuff, they just, you can hear them say, we can't answer that. We won't talk about that.
Right.
But because of its ability to be able to get information from things that have occurred, we are now going to start doing and helping with cold cases.
I think there's a question also about the cold
Yeah,
case.
someone
I
mentioned that on a
Yeah,
missing
about the
persons
missing
case.
person case.
Correct. And there are some that go way back.
Oh, yeah.
And this device will and does have the ability. Now we have the first one coming up. We haven't tested it yet. We'll find out what it can do. But it's a great way to find out what it can do and what information can come forward to help some of these suffering people not knowing what happened.
I'm fascinated. I
I
want
am
to see
too. I
another
want
one.
to see. We got
Percodan.
two more
Let's
to
go with
show, right?
Percodan.
Okay, so this one's hilarious because first of all, I did not know what Percodan was. I'll let you play the clip.
This was like a couple days ago.
This was literally 3 or 4 days ago. And
Okay.
Cherie wasn't feeling well. So go ahead and play it, and then I can explain it further.
All right, here we go.
Spirit, Cherie isn't getting sick, is she? Is Cherie getting sick, Spirit? Yes. What should she take? Who created Staticom?
Okay.
Yeah, they were so worried it was broken.
Yeah.
It wasn't. In fact, it's evolving. But I did not know what Percodan was. I heard the answer, but I looked it up.
We have to Google it.
It is a really
Narcotic.
heavy narcotic used for sickness and pain. And I didn't even know what it was until I looked it up. And sure enough, again, what should she take? Percodan.
I think I need prescription for that.
I don't think we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Damien's asking, was there any, I guess, extra activity around the drones or anything when the drones were? Did you all have a lot of the drone out your way? You said Arizona, right?
Yeah, nothing.
It's a closed circuit, so I don't think drone will affect anything.
No, he's just wondering if there was an additional activity during that time.
Oh, okay, got it.
But no, and we're nowhere near it, so
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have had an effect here. But could we have asked those questions? Yeah. In fact, there's probably hundreds of millions of questions. People ask us, did you ask how the pyramids were built? Did Atlantis really exist? Can we ask those? Absolutely we can. Do we know what answer will come through? No, we don't. But that's half the fun of it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that kind of makes me wonder with all the experimentations now that they're doing, the different experiments with the aliens and stuff. How do we know it's spirits and not something else that's coming through and communicating? I mean, it's
You know, that's an excellent point. I guess the answer I would have with that is that we can translate any language to any language, but it's because we're all on the same planet interacting with the same environmental things, books, television, phones. So there is consistency, and it's just a matter of determining what words they use to translate it into another language.
Right.
But we can't translate dolphin. to English. Why? Because we have no concept of the environment of the squeaks and squeals and what they mean.
Right.
So could it communicate with extraterrestrial from a telepathic or mind traveling of thought? Technically, it probably could, but unless they were fully immersed in Earth culture, what we know and how we communicate and what we use, which they might, I don't know that, it would be difficult outside of those parameters.
Gotcha.
That
makes
all right.
sense.
It does make sense. I'm gonna watch another one.
I think we only have one left.
Yep,
don't
we got one more. It's 3.0 responses. This is the longest one, folks. It's 1 minute and 36
It's
seconds.
like we need a movie.
Yeah. So here we go.
Rathman, I heard you say Rathman. Yes. What did you want to say to Roger? It's Tony. Spirits, can you hear me? Yes, okay. That was a loud voice that just answered. What's your name? That's a strange name. How many spirits are here with us right now? A lot? A lot, yeah, that's what I thought you said. Because there's so many of you, is that why all the background chatter? They're talking? Do you have any messages for us? Rathman, I heard that.
I need one.
There, it's we're, like I said, we're trying to figure all that out, but it is literally the closest thing to Thomas Edison's phone to the dead that he wanted to create, or Tesla's spirit phone, or whatever he called it. But it is two-way communication, and now because of the upgrades that we made, we had to dive into the whole stochastic resonance process. We had to figure out terms that I didn't even know what they were, like potential well depth, and it was mind-blowing in the equations that went with it. But that was what was preventing the communication from staying at the level we needed it at, the clarity of it, and now we've fixed all that, and it's two-way.
Yeah. And Sparky's is asking, is there any way to be part of a trial process, like report back responses? I guess let people, hand it out to people to test and log.
The problem, the biggest problem in doing that, not that we wouldn't want to do it. This isn't like a spirit box that you flip a switch and it runs.
Yeah.
This is a method which requires the knowledge of sound. It requires the knowledge of sound processing through multiple components. It requires an understanding of things like stochastic resonance. So it's not at a stage right now where it's something that can just be handed over and turned on. It is a physical process that requires understanding of how it works. So it's why at this point we're not able to just say, here's 10 of them, tell us what you get. Because even setting it up, which even we are still working on ways to correct, but it can be an hour to a 4-hour process to get it tuned in. Yeah. Once it's there, it's great. But before that, and most people would lose interest in the first 15 minutes and be like, forget it.
But I think
there'll be upgrades that we're working on to be able to get it to be narrowed down to a switch and a little tuning like a radio.
Yeah.
But that's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
Damien, as different people's energy had better or weaker responses. Like, do you think you get a lot of responses because they kind of are familiar with you now? Or do you think somebody, like if we were to walk into your home where that's going and we were to start talking, do you think they'd be just as open to talk to us?
It would depend on who the person is. In your case, I think they would. But does the audience and the people that are there have an effect on how they respond? Absolutely do. In fact, when we do public demonstrations, in the first hour where there's the most people there, they're a little more hesitant to speak. But as that group shrinks as the night goes on, and the people who have stayed the longest are the most interested, are the most open to it, that's when we find that the responses really pick up, get more in depth. And so, yes, the people in the audience, their open-mindedness to it, their ability to accept what's coming in, yes, that plays a huge role.
Yeah. I mean, that's our firm belief
Yeah,
in no matter what method you're using, is the
Correct.
energy you put in has a direct relationship on what you're going to get back.
Absolutely agree.
We have started doing a lot of cryptid research. Okay. And we're some of the first to start utilizing ghost hunting equipment in cryptid research. And when you get to the point where, you can say, Ernie, I'll ship you one for $3.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Yeah. She's interrupting again.
I'm interrupting.
Yeah. But I mean, I would love to try this when we're out doing our squatching, or
Right.
We've got an event coming up with Get Haunted up at Fort Duffield at the end of May, a trifecta event where we're doing spirits, squatches, and UFO research. We're going to do a C3 and all of those things. And having something like this for that would be amazing.
Right. We don't know the limitations of Staticom, not even close, because, like I said, 3.0 is like a week old. But
Right.
we never even hit the limits of 2.0. What we did was we improved the communication and the clarity of the speech beyond recognition now. I mean, everybody can hear what's being said. There's no guessing. But can extraterrestrials communicate with it? Can cryptids? Don't know the answer. Could it be possible? Absolutely, it could. It could.
Yeah. I mean, our belief is that it's all connected. They're all energy beings, and some, at the most base point.
At the base of it, yeah.
And
The entire universe is energy, frequency, and vibration, and a lot of communication. Those are the three fundamental items, regardless of whether it's being directed through mental energy or vocal communication. It's still energy, frequency, and vibration. And if Staticom's able to take that, convert it into a hertz level that our ears can understand, then the speech comes out. It's that simple.
Yeah, this is just awesome.
It is awesome. We
I mean,
need that.
We anybody that watches our show and knows us, I mean, you guys are just meeting us tonight, but anybody that knows us knows that we're the least tech savvy. This is why we don't use a lot of equipment, because a lot of it we just don't know how to use.
We are to the point. I've done this my whole life. My parents were urban legend chasers. Like, I grew up surrounded by paranormal. My kids have always been surrounded by it. Ernie's been doing it since he was very young. So we're beyond having to prove anything to anybody else. We get in the moment and have the experiences. And although we have no proof to show for any of it, because we don't use a lot of
We've
equipment.
got some photos
We
and
do
some
have
audio and
some.
some video. You said no. No are two different words.
But look, you make me lose my train of thought. Anyway, we just live in the moment, and it seems like we have so many more experiences than a lot of other people that are walking around with cameras and recorders and everything else, because they're always trying to document And we've seen it when we were tour guides at Waverly Hills. They'd be looking in that little viewfinder, walking down the hall, and we would be seeing stuff all around them, and they wouldn't see any of it. This is kind of nice because it's not something that would require you
don't have to focus. I mean, you can just sit there and listen and let them talk to you.
Yeah,
correct. But you're right. You hit a point where you're not trying to prove something to yourself anymore, and you're certainly not trying to prove anything to anybody else. It's just there's steps that you go through. First, you want to know, okay, is this real? Okay, yes, now I know it's real. It does happen. Okay, I don't have to prove that they're there anymore. I know that. Right. What can I do next? This was the next level for us. Okay, can we get them to speak? Can we get a two-way communication? Is it possible to have communication? And yeah, it is.
And Damien, I guess, is asking solar activity. Do you notice any difference between the day and night, or any
moon phases,
or anything like that?
The only thing I've noticed, and we have recorded, full moons, blood moons, planetary alignments. The only real thing that we've noticed is that there are times of the day that are more active, more spirits talking, and there are a certain time at night where it seems to slow way down. Like now, do they sleep? Maybe, I don't know. But there are more active times, but we haven't connected any of those times to any planetary alignment or full moons or blood moons or anything like that yet.
Right.
I can tell you, it's Ernie smarten up is what.
Boot him. Ban him.
Rob, we need to talk. You need to invest in this. We're gonna we're all gonna get rich together.
I'm sorry. This is just the coolest.
I was making sure I didn't forget any
toy ever invented for the paranormal people.
Yeah, we absolutely love this. This is awesome, amazing.
The potential of it is huge, and there's a considerable history behind it. We didn't just throw this together. It was researched very heavily by our previous partners up to the direct radio point. They had brought the direct radio back. Did that work? It did. But then, we joined forces and said the radio's got to go away. Science throws that right out the window. We managed that. We slowed down live white noise in real time because they speak so fast that sentences were coming through. We could barely even tell a vocal sound was made. It came through that fast. So Staticom literally slows it down at a 50% rate. So you're hearing it at half the speed, but not half the speed over the full length, but like a difference between eighth notes to quarter notes, meaning so that you're still getting similar time frames, but you're not elongating, 2 hours into 4 hours.
Right. But what I like about it is it's real time because my favorite form of evidence has always been EVPs.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think most paranormal people would agree, a good EVP is just hard to debunk.
Correct.
When the room around you and no one else is talking or whatever.
Correct.
But
you know the environmental factors around you when you were doing it, that there was no one else there and no one else was speaking. An EVP to me was the most fascinating thing on the planet. And for a couple of other reasons too, is that I could tell if it was male or female. I could tell if it was an adult or a child. I could tell their emotional state. I could tell if they were speaking a certain language or had a territorial dialect, all before I could get all that information before I even heard the answer to my question. So it was unbeatable as far as paranormal evidence goes, was an EVP.
Right. But the fact that this is real time and you're not having to get a response,
sit and wait forever,
then go back and sit and listen with headphones to hear that response,
and then
and then go back to ask another question of the same spirit. In our case, like with the research on Sarah's story.
You've also got to think too, though, because some people want to just set it up and then go back and listen to hours, and then it's like, did somebody walk into that room at some point? Did you catch an outside, like,
Right.
theory? There's too many factors. We're very much, when in doubt, throw it out. And I've probably thrown out good pieces of evidence just because there were too many factors that could have been something else.
Right. Yeah, we agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Rob, he's saying he's the EVP king. He kind of is. He does get a lot.
He gets an EVP just about any time he tries to.
He came here and visited us at this
but I don't
house.
like him.
Visited us. And what was it? Within like 10 minutes, he had like 6 Class A EVPs downstairs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of EVPs in this house. Anyway, he said that Staticom picked up his words before he asked.
That can happen, Rob. Absolutely, that can happen. And I'm sure you've probably experienced. I mean, that's our previous partners, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We gotta get together, Tony, Sherry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All gotta go back to Kentucky and bring all your gear with you
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's plan on that.
here at the Ditto House, and
we'll make it happen.
we'll make it happen.
That would be awesome. We would be honored, and I think what you guys would be able to catch, understand, and learn from what they're telling would be just mind blowing.
Oh, it might help things. Rob saying he spent a weekend here with us, and he had some pretty. There was no doubt, was there, Rob? It's like we said, we've been tour guides at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and this house is.
And we visited many, many, many of the most haunted places.
This house is more haunted than any of those places. It's nonstop here, like to the point that like. He's up in the middle of the night telling you said earlier, do they sleep? They don't hear.
No, at least not at normal times. I know.
Not at normal times, exactly. Right.
They started at about 3:30 this morning. They started, and I finally fell back asleep around 6, and the REM pods around the house were still going off.
Footsteps up and down the hall, knocking on the doors,
and knocking on the bedroom doors.
Wow.
Not coming back.
But
You're the cat.
so what's your background? We got just a few minutes left. I mean, my job right now, I load airplanes, I'm sure you got a background in.
I had enough influence in enough of the situations. Like when I was 16, 17, I worked in an electronics shop. I was repairing radios, televisions, stuff like that. So that gave me the electronics background. Then when we started ripping apart spirit boxes to figure out how they worked, it was pretty easy for me to figure out what the components were. Not too hard to put them together. So we started building our own. And then the other biggest factor was my father, who was a physics instructor for 46 years. Yeah. So when it came to physics and understanding things like stochastic resonance and how can this be occurring, I had a live platform to bounce those questions off of. And that's partly how the evolution has come about.
That makes sense. Okay, so you're not just somebody that decided, hey, I got a soldering iron and.
No, I may have started out that way, but no, we've actually put some serious years of research into this, and the research never stops. So we don't want it to ever stop. We want to continue to be able to make those advancements. The paranormal community has stood still now for the last 15 years or more, and it needs a push forward. And we're hoping we can be part of that push.
That's awesome. Have you talked with Brandon Alvis at all? Do you know who Brandon is?
I know Brandon very, very well. We've offered to demonstrate this for him. I know he's super busy. I know that they're coming up to film again. But hoping he'll have some time to take a look at it. I did offer that to him, so we'd be honored to show it and demonstrate what it can do.
because I was getting ready to call him as soon as this podcast.
Yeah, he did. Close
Yeah,
up.
he knows.
Yeah,
We've investigated.
we've investigated with him
Queen
before. We
Mary.
were on the Queen Mary with him for
4 days.
Yeah, so we know him.
If we get you here to the house, Brandon lives really close to us. We can see if we can make it work out that
Oh,
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
he actually
sneak peek anyway.
he's bought a haunted house of his own not too far from here, a couple of haunted houses. So
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, he'd get a real kick out of what this thing can do.
yeah. I would love for them to get a look at it because, like I say, I mean they like the scientific approach very much,
Right.
and they don't like the old school paranormal stuff so much.
No, he doesn't. Matter of fact, he was using an photon camera when we were on the Queen Mary, and Sheree and I were messing with an SLS. So there was a big difference
I know.
in the equipment, and that's when I said to Sheree, we're done with this stuff.
He's probably like, what are you guys
What are you doing? That's for Xbox.
I'm like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah,
my
no,
gosh,
I know.
that's so embarrassing.
Yeah,
they brought the EMCCD camera here to this house and to Fort Duffield, where we also do our events out of, and got evidence in both places. They won't tell us exactly what they got.
Until
we
the
have to wait
episode
till the
airs.
episode.
Right. Yeah.
But it's good stuff apparently. So
Damien's asking, do you see a 4.0 or is this probably as good as you can get it?
We'll stick to 3.0 for now.
Yeah, considering
We'll
it's
enjoy it.
considering it's only a week old,
Yes.
we're gonna stick with 3.0 for a little while.
Yes.
But do I ever see it not advancing? No, I don't.
Yeah.
There will always be things that can be bettered, enhanced. There will be new information that arrives. Matter of fact, we've gotten information just in the last week or two that we didn't know before, and all of that helps the evolution of steps up. So the reason we started with a 0.00 and then went to a 1 to a 2 to a 3 is because numbers continue to go up after that and never stop, and we'll probably need a lot of them.
Yeah. I think we're going to also focus to make it portable because
Correct.
it's not really portable.
It can be moved around. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's no problem with that. But if you're walking through a location, there's too many pieces of equipment to do that. But can we is the ability to take those individual components and compact it into one device? Yeah, that can be done.
well, when that happens, we want to be on the pre-order list.
You got it.
Get those Powerball numbers.
Yeah, that would help getting it packed into a single device too, but they won't give us those numbers.
And everything. Wouldn't it?
How can us paranormal investigators help you with information or anything else? Questions for this?
No, that's an excellent question. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. There is some information floating around. We don't know exactly if and when and how it's going to happen. But there was some talk about the sort of basic initial putting together of what Staticom sort of DRV started. And most of those components are pretty easy to get a hold of. And there was some talk about some classes being put out to teach people how to do that. And we can definitely let you know if that's going to occur. Matter of fact, I spoke to these people last week, I think it was, and they're still trying to figure out if and how they can do it. But that would be the first step, where you know what you need to do, how it compiles, and then how it operates from there.
Awesome. Well, how can folks reach out to you guys and follow you to keep up with the latest on this?
The easiest way is probably either YouTube. If you want to continue to see new clips that are out, the Staticom page on YouTube is the easiest way to do that. The other one is Tony Rathman or Sheree Rathman on Facebook. Just about everything we do, or meetings that we have, or conglomerations of trying to figure out next steps, all that stuff is posted there, and what we're working on and what's coming up, where we're going to be presenting. So those are probably the easiest. And the other one is entityvoices.com website. That has a lot of the information as well.
Okay. All right. Well, Tony, Sherry, it's been an honor speaking with you. And this has been
you.
And
Me too. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you very much for having us.
Yes.
Appreciate
Yeah, we
it.
definitely
We'd be glad
need
to have you
to,
back when.
and we
whenever.
need to get you to the house.
Yeah, you
We're
got
That
gonna-
would be awesome.
Yes.
That would be
that'd
awesome. Thank
We'd
you.
love to.
Thank you, everybody over here.
Good
with
questions
your
tonight.
questions, comments. We didn't get to all of them, I'm sure, but
We tried.
we tried. But guys, we'll be back again next week. I don't know if we'll have anybody that's nearly as smart and interesting as Tony and Sherry. It'd probably be just some dumb hillbilly. Who knows?
We might have Todd on again or something.
Not that dumb. But anyway, no, we love y'all. Y'all be good to one another. Don't be jerks.
Thank you.
Okay? And we'll see you next week. You all
Night,
take care.
folks.
Bye bye.
And
And we're still here.